What happens when a CEO goes undercover and catches an employee charging rich kids extra just because they look wealthy? Brayden Ellis stood outside one of his own arcades, wearing a faded hoodie, scuffed jeans, and a baseball cap pulled low. His beard was grown out just enough to change his face, and a pair of fake glasses completed the look. He looked nothing like the CEO of a 20-location arcade chain, a chain his father had built before passing it down to him 5 years ago. This location was in the nicer part of town, inside a busy shopping plaza. It pulled in strong numbers every quarter, but lately, Brayden had heard from his finance manager that profits were slipping just slightly compared to similar stores. Not enough to raise alarm bells, but enough to make Brayden curious. Instead of sending in someone to look, he decided to go himself. He hadn't met the staff here personally. The arcade had opened last year, and with multiple stores opening that season, his district managers handled onboarding and training. He didn't believe in plastering his face everywhere either. He wanted customers to focus on the experience, not the ownership. Walking in, he was hit with a wave of lights, sounds, and laughter. Kids chased each other between machines, and parents hovered near the prize counter. It looked like business as usual. He walked up to the cashier counter. "Hey, I'm here for my first day," he said. The woman behind the counter gave him a once-over. She looked about 25, sharp eyes, short red hair, and no patience. Her name tag said Dana. "New hire?" she asked. He nodded. "Yeah, training shift," she sighed. "Figures, Jason didn't show again." "You'll be shadowing Aria today." She pointed to a girl sweeping up near the claw machines. Aria looked maybe 22, with a calm expression and curly black hair tied up in a bun. She wore a faded staff shirt and sneakers with holes in them. "Thanks," Brayden said, making his way over. As he approached, Aria looked up and smiled. "You must be the new guy. I'm Aria. You can help me restock the claw machines first, then I'll show you how we work the counter." "Cool, I'm Ben." He'd picked the name last minute. "Safe, easy." They walked together and she handed him a box of plush toys. "You ever work arcades before?" she asked. "Not really. I used to go to one as a kid," she laughed. "Yeah, me too. Thought it'd be fun working here, but, well, you'll see." That sentence lingered with him. "What do you mean?" She hesitated, then shook her head. "You'll figure it out by lunch." Brayden kept quiet. By noon, he already noticed a few cracks. Dana, the floor supervisor, barked orders at people but rarely helped. One of the machines had jammed and she refused to call maintenance, telling Aria to just unplug it for now. A family asked for a refund when their tokens weren't dispensed, and Dana argued with them until they left, angry. Aria handled most of the front, juggling the ticket counter, token dispenser, and cleaning. She was efficient but quiet, and the kids loved her. She gave high fives, helped them pick prizes, and never lost her cool. But the moment that made Brayden's stomach twist came around 2 o'clock. A group of 3 boys came in, maybe 11 or 12 years old. They wore designer sneakers, had iPhones, and carried a $100 bill between them. They looked excited. "We want to get the gold package," one said at the counter. "Unlimited tokens for an hour, a slice of pizza, and a drink." Dana stepped up before Aria could respond. "That package price just went up for deluxe service," she said casually. The boys blinked. "What deluxe?" Dana crossed her arms. "It's a new add-on. For kids who want the VIP treatment, it's 20 more. One of the boys frowned. "But the sign says 35. Dana leaned in. "You want it or not?" The kid looked confused, then nodded slowly. "Okay, I guess." Brayden watched from behind the claw machine, heart pounding. He stepped out and walked up to Aria while Dana rang them up. "Is that normal?" he whispered. Aria looked uncomfortable. "She does that sometimes, only to kids who look like they have money. She says it's smart business. I don't agree with it." "Do you ever tell anyone?" Aria shook her head. "Tried once, got threatened with losing hours." Brayden's jaw clenched. He waited until Dana stepped away to the back, then turned to Aria. "Can I ask something weird?" She raised an eyebrow. "What would you do if you found out the owner was here watching all this?" Aria blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" He pulled off his glasses and hat. My name's Brayden Ellis. I run this company. My dad built it, and I just watched one of my employees scam kids out of money. Aria's jaw dropped. You're what? I went undercover to see how this location was doing. Now I know. She looked around nervously. Is Dana gonna get fired? Brayden looked toward the back room. His voice dropped low. She's not walking out of here with a job. You, though, we're gonna talk. You've held this place together. Aria's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them back. I just try to do what's right. He gave her a small nod. I saw that, and I'm gonna make sure you get what you deserve. He turned and walked toward the back door. It was time for a real confrontation. Brayden didn't knock when he pushed open the back office door. The light was dim, and the tiny room smelled faintly of burnt coffee and cleaning fluid. Dana sat at the desk, typing something into the point-of-sale system. She looked up, mildly annoyed. You're not allowed back here. Go clean the ski ball lanes or whatever Aria told you. I'm not new staff, Brayden said, his voice steady but low. I'm Brayden Ellis. Dana stared at him, her expression flat. Then her eyes narrowed, flicking to his hairline, then down to his shoes as if trying to connect the dots. I own this company, and I watched you add a fake charge to a group of kids based on what they were wearing. Dana leaned back slowly in her chair. I didn't fake anything. We've got flexibility on pricing. That's not flexibility. That's targeted upselling based on appearance, and it's unethical. And more importantly, it violates 3 of our posted policies. She folded her arms. The profit margin at this location's tighter than it should be. I'm just doing what I have to. No one's forcing them to pay. Brayden's jaw locked. They're children. You don't manipulate kids, ever. Dana didn't flinch. You want this place to hit numbers, or do you want it to feel like a daycare? You can't have both. Brayden didn't answer. He stepped toward the desk, pulled the office phone from its cradle and dialed the district manager's line from memory. Evan, suspend Dana effective immediately. I'll handle the termination paperwork myself. He hung up before Evan could respond. Dana stood, her grip tightening around the edge of the desk. You're making a mistake, she said. No, I'm correcting one. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't argue further. She grabbed her bag from under the desk, adjusted her jacket, and walked out, brushing past him without a glance. The door clicked softly behind her. Brayden stood alone for a moment, letting the silence settle. Then he exhaled and stepped back into the hallway. He found Aria near the redemption counter, helping a toddler choose between a plastic ring and a keychain. Her expression was calm, but her eyes darted toward him as he approached. She's gone, he said quietly. Aria didn't react right away. She handed the child the ring, then turned to Brayden. So, what happens now? I'm staying the rest of the day. And I need your help. They moved to the side hallway near the storage closet. Brayden leaned against the wall, rubbing the bridge of his nose. I need to understand how things have really been running here. Not just Dana, everything. Aria hesitated, then nodded. The schedule's been unpredictable. Shifts get posted late, sometimes the night before. People show up and get sent home if it's slow, but then the next day we're short and overwhelmed. Dana mostly handled coverage, but she'd cut hours to keep labor costs down. Who's been doing maintenance? Barely anyone. We're supposed to submit tickets through the company system, but Dana would delay it, said it made us look needy. So we unplug machines or tape out of order signs. Some of the games eat tokens, and we just warn customers when we can. Brayden's stomach turned. What about training? Aria gave a dry laugh. I got a 10-minute walkthrough on my first day. Everything else I picked up from the others. Most people don't stay long enough to learn much. Why didn't you leave? She looked at him for a long second. I needed the job, and I figured if I left, the kids would get stuck with people like her. Brayden didn't have a response for that. He just nodded. All right, he said. I want to meet the rest of the team. Everyone who's here today. She led him to the break room, a cramped space with a single table and a mini fridge that buzzed loud enough to rattle the ceiling tiles. 3 employees sat around the table. A tall teenager eating chips straight from the bag, a young man with earbuds still in, and a girl scrolling through her phone with her legs tucked under her. "Guys," Aria said, "this is Brayden Ellis." The room froze. The girl dropped her phone. The guy with the earbuds pulled them out slowly. "You're the owner?" he asked. Brayden nodded. "I've been undercover for the day. I saw enough to know something's broken here. I need to hear from you all. Honest. No filters." The tall teenager set the chips down. "You're not gonna fire us for saying stuff, right? Not unless you admit to something illegal, and even then, we'll talk first." The tension eased slightly. The girl spoke first. "We get yelled at more than we get trained. I had a mom scream at me because the prize machine jammed, and Dana said it was my fault for not checking it beforehand." The guy with the earbuds added, "She told me I couldn't take my 15-minute break during my 6-hour shift because the floor was too busy. I didn't get to eat until after close." The teen shook his head. "I've been told to lie, say the games are working when they're not, say we're out of cheaper prizes when we're not. Dana said it's about controlling the flow." Brayden listened without interrupting. When they finished, he nodded once. "Thank you. I'm not going to pretend I can fix everything in one day, but I'm starting now." He returned to the main floor and pulled out his phone. Within minutes, he had a call set up with the operations lead. He requested a temporary manager from another location and arranged for a maintenance team to come the following morning. He also requested a full report on staffing levels and turnover at this site. By the time he returned to the front counter, Aria was helping a boy count out tickets for a rubber snake. She looked up at him briefly, then back at the child, never rushing him. When the kid left, Brayden leaned on the counter. "I've got a manager from the Westgate location coming tomorrow. Just to stabilize things until we can hire someone new." Aria nodded slowly, her arms crossed. "What about after that?" Brayden studied her face. "I want you to consider applying for the assistant manager position. Maybe more, depending on how things go. We'll get you formal training." "Paid?" She blinked, clearly caught off guard. "I don't have management experience." "You've been doing the job anyway," he said. "You just didn't have the title." She didn't answer right away. Her eyes flicked toward the redemption wall, then back to him. "I'll think about it." "Good. That's all I ask." The rest of the shift passed quietly. Customers came and went. Brayden helped a boy fix a jammed racing game, then restocked the soda fridge. He watched Aria field a long line at the counter without once losing her patience. The other staff slowly relaxed, too, checking in with each other more freely, even laughing a few times. As the evening wound down, Brayden walked the floor one last time. He paused near the basketball game and watched a father and his daughter taking turns. The girl cheered every time her dad made a shot. He remembered being that kid once in one of his dad's early arcades. He remembered the smell of popcorn and the flicker of neon and the feeling that everything was possible. It was supposed to be fun. He'd let someone turn it into something else. And he'd almost missed it, but not anymore. The next morning, Brayden arrived before the arcade opened, parking in the employee lot behind the plaza. The air was cool and still, the kind of morning that always felt too quiet before the rush. He held a cardboard tray with 5 coffees and a bag of bagels from a local shop. It wasn't a solution, but it was a start, something small, human. Inside, the lights were still dimmed. Aria was already there, vacuuming near the racing simulators. She looked up, surprised. "You're early," she said. "So are you. I live 2 bus stops away. It's easier to show up before the rest of the crowd." He set the tray on the prize counter and offered her a cup. "Hazelnut," I guessed. Her eyebrows lifted. "Lucky guess. I had a good teacher yesterday." She took it, her fingers still dusty from the vacuum handle. "I called a maintenance crew last night," he said. "They're showing up around noon, might get loud for a bit." "Good. Half these games are hanging on by duct tape." "I figured." The front door opened a few minutes later. The other employees trickled in: Caleb, the tall teen, Tasha, the girl from the break room, and Evan, the interim manager Brayden brought in from the Westgate location. Evan was in his 30s, a former store manager who had helped turn around 2 underperforming locations. He was quiet but carried himself with a kind of practiced calm that made people listen. Brayden introduced him to the crew, keeping it short, no speeches, no promises. Just, he's here to help fix what went wrong, you'll get to know him. As they prepped for opening, Brayden stuck close to Evan, observing how he moved through the space. Evan didn't give orders, he asked questions. He'd stop next to a machine, glance at a wiring panel, then ask Caleb what usually caused that particular glitch. He watched how Tasha handled the token machine and asked if it had a reset protocol. It was the kind of leadership Brayden respected hands-on, not performative. At 11, the front doors opened, and the Saturday rush began in earnest. Groups of kids poured in, birthday parties and weekend regulars. A father carried his toddler on one arm while balancing a pizza box in the other. Two teenage girls shuffled past, laughing with their phones held out in front of them, filming everything. Brayden stayed near the prize wall, observing, not interfering, not yet. He wanted to see how the team adjusted without Dana's presence. It wasn't perfect. Around noon, the token dispenser jammed. Tasha tried to fix it, but she didn't know how to access the internal panel. Aria jogged over to help and they got it working, but not before the line backed up for a full 5 minutes. A few parents grumbled. One walked out. Evan took note. At 1:30, a redemption printer ran out of paper. Caleb didn't have the right spool and had to dig through the supply closet while the customer waited. Again, small but noticeable. The maintenance crew arrived just after 2. Two techs in company polos moved quickly, laying out tools and inspecting machines on their checklist. The basketball game, one of the oldest units, had a busted sensor and a cracked frame. One of the techs shook his head and told Evan it needed to be pulled altogether. Not salvageable. Evan didn't hesitate. Pull it, we'll order a replacement. Brayden watched all of it from the sidelines. Every flaw they uncovered made sense. None of it surprised him, but what struck him most was how the staff responded. No one coasted, no one deflected. They owned their shortcomings and adapted. By mid-afternoon, Brayden stepped outside for a moment of air. The sun was higher now, the lot buzzing with weekend traffic. He leaned against the side wall, sipping cold coffee, and replayed the last few hours in his head. He didn't hear Aria approach until she was beside him. "You all right?" she asked. He nodded. "Just thinking." She leaned against the wall too, her arms crossed. "I've never seen a day run this steady, even with the hiccups. It's not steady yet. But it's less chaotic." She was quiet for a moment, then said, "You didn't have to come back today." "I did. Most owners wouldn't," he turned to her. "Most owners don't know what they've lost until it's already gone." She looked down at her shoes. One of them had a tear along the sole, worn thin from months of walking on concrete floors. "You still want me to apply for assistant manager?" "I do, but only if you want it. I'm not sure I'm ready." "No one is when they start." She didn't respond to that, just nodded once. They stood there a bit longer until Evan called them back in. The basketball game had been wheeled out. A replacement was already scheduled from a nearby warehouse. The crew had fixed 5 machines and flagged 2 more for parts. By evening, the floor was cleaner than it had been in weeks. The air smelled faintly of fresh plastic and orange cleaner. The token machines worked. The prize shelves were restocked. A kid won a giant stuffed turtle from the claw machine and screamed with joy loud enough to make half the arcade cheer. As they closed up, Evan gathered the staff in the break room. Brayden stood behind him, letting Evan lead. "Tomorrow we start on new scheduling," Evan said. "That means shifts posted a week in advance, no last-minute calls unless someone's sick. Everyone gets 2 days off per week. If you're here full-time, we'll talk about benefits. If you're part-time, there's still room to grow." Caleb raised a hand. "What about breaks? Sometimes we don't get them." Evan nodded. "We'll rotate coverage. You'll get your state-mandated breaks. If we're short, I'll step in." "Brayden's authorized me to pull in floaters from other locations if needed." Tasha asked, "Are we getting training?" "Like real training." Evan opened a folder and handed her a sheet. "We start a cross-training schedule next week." You'll learn redemption, tech basics, crowd management, and closing duties. Everyone will rotate until we have full coverage. Brayden watched their faces as Evan spoke. No one clapped, no one cheered, but there was something better: focus. Real attention. Not the kind people give because they're afraid, but the kind they give when they're finally being taken seriously. After the meeting, Brayden stayed behind with Evan. The rest of the staff filtered out, grabbing their bags and heading home. "Tomorrow we start moving," Evan said. "I'll need a budget for repairs and one additional hire." "Done." "Also," Evan added, Aria's sharp. "She's not just capable, she anchors the floor, she's coaching the others without even realizing it." Brayden nodded. "She's thinking about the role." "Let's give her space." Evan paused, then said, "You thinking of doing this at the other locations?" Brayden looked out the break room window, toward the flashing lights and the fading noise of the arcade floor. "I wasn't," he admitted. "But now I am." He left a few minutes later, walking out through the back. The streetlights were kicking on, casting long shadows across the pavement. He climbed into his car and sat there for a moment, engine off. He thought about the kids who'd walked through that door today, the ones who played with their parents, the ones who came alone, the ones who handed over crumpled bills and expected fun in return. And he thought about the people who made that happen. Not just machines or tokens or lights, but people. He didn't need a memo or a KPI report to know what had gone wrong. He'd seen it. And he wasn't going to forget. A week later, Brayden returned to the same arcade, this time through the front doors. No disguise, no hesitation. The morning hours were quiet, just a few families trickling in, the sound of a single skee-ball machine echoing across the polished floors. He carried no clipboard, no entourage, just a notebook and a worn messenger bag slung across one shoulder. Evan met him near the entrance, already mid-conversation with a teenage employee, about resetting the digital scoreboard over the air hockey tables. He finished the exchange, then walked alongside Brayden toward the back where the prize wall had been reorganized, shelves now labeled and evenly spaced. "We're still short one part-timer," Evan said, "but we've stabilized the schedule. Aria's helping with early shift coordination. She's not officially in the assistant role yet, but she's been easing into it." Brayden nodded. "Has she said anything about the offer?" "She hasn't said yes, but she stopped saying no." They passed a birthday party setting up near the rear tables, balloons, paper hats, a stack of wrapped gifts. One of the parents waved toward the counter, and Caleb jogged over, already pulling extra cups from under the register. Brayden leaned against the side wall, watching the moment unfold. "That kid couldn't make eye contact last week." Evan folded his arms. "He's better when someone trusts him to figure things out. I've noticed." They moved to the office, where the maintenance log was spread across the desk. Evan flipped it open and pointed to a section marked in red pen. 4 machines are still flagged for replacement. "We're running them at reduced load to avoid full failure. We've stretched their cycle time, but they're on borrowed time." Brayden scanned the list. "Can we get a shipment from the Detroit location? They had a surplus after that remodel." "I already put in the request." "Logistics confirms arrival by Monday." Brayden tapped the desk lightly. "You've done good work here." Evan didn't respond with thanks. He just gave a small nod, then closed the logbook. Brayden stepped back onto the floor, notebook in hand. He made his way toward the redemption counter, where Aria was helping a boy with a handful of crumpled tickets. She adjusted the scanner, coached him through the process, then crouched to grab a small plastic robot from the bottom shelf, handing it over with a quiet grin. When she looked up and saw Brayden, she straightened, brushing stray hair from her face. "You're back early." I wanted to see how things felt now that the dust settled. She wiped her hands on a cloth tucked into her waistband. "It's better." "Still hectic, but not panicked." "Can we talk?" She nodded and followed him toward the side hallway, near the storage closet where they'd first spoken. The noise of the arcade faded to a low hum. "I meant what I said about the assistant manager position," Brayden started. "I didn't offer it out of gratitude. I offered it because you're already doing the job. Aria leaned against the wall, arms crossed, not defensive, just weighing things. I've been thinking about it, she said. I'm not afraid of the responsibility. I just don't want to get stuck. You won't. You don't know that. Brayden didn't respond right away. He watched a father walk past with a toddler on his hip, both laughing as they headed toward the light-up piano game. You're right, I don't know everything. But I can promise this: if you take the role and decide in 6 months it's not what you want, I'll help you find something that is. In this company or outside it, you won't disappear into a job you didn't ask for. Aria studied him for a long moment. I want a team that listens. That doesn't wait for someone to mess up before they get noticed. Then build that team, Brayden said. We'll give you the tools. Evan can guide you through the logistics, but the culture, that's yours to shape. I want to run hiring differently, not just applications through the portal. I want trial shifts. Let people show how they handle the floor, not just how they answer questions. Done. I want to say in scheduling, not all of it just the first draft. I know when people can handle crowds and when they're better on cleanup. You'll get that too. She didn't answer right away, then she extended her hand. All right then. Brayden shook it. Her grip was steady. As she walked back toward the counter, Brayden made his way toward the far end of the arcade, where 2 machines were being tested by one of the techs from maintenance. The man gave a thumbs up. The sensor had been calibrated again. It wouldn't last long, but it would hold for now. Caleb passed by, wheeling a cart of paper towels and sanitizer. He gave Brayden a quick glance. I'm training on machine resets next week, he said. Aria's showing me. Brayden nodded. Good. What happens after that, you tell me. The teen looked unsure of what to make of that, but he smiled anyway and kept walking. By the time Brayden returned to the front, the birthday party was in full swing. Kids darted between machines, chasing tickets and each other. The staff moved with purpose, not rushed, not uncertain, just focused. Tasha was coaching a new hire on token refills, her voice calm but firm. Even the lighting felt different, less harsh, more balanced. Brayden stood quietly near the entrance, watching it all unfold. This wasn't about saving a location anymore. It was about rebuilding what should have been there from the start. Not just maintenance logs and employee rotations, but respect, predictable hours, fair treatment. Simple things that somehow got lost when the numbers started driving the decisions instead of people. He opened his notebook and jotted down a short sentence. Start every quarterly by visiting 2 random locations in person. Then he added one more. Don't wait for red flags to learn who's holding the place together. As he turned to leave, a small girl tugged at his sleeve. She held a bright plastic token in her hand. Can you play the dance game with me? She asked. Brayden hesitated, then he crouched down. I'm not very good at dancing. She grinned, wide and unbothered. You don't have to be. He let her lead him to the machine. It wasn't part of the plan. But maybe that was the point.